Did it later.
Yeah, true.
Oh, it is going.
All right, here we are. Technology is fun this morning. So hi there, guys. If you are with us today, this is Lori Lordson of LL Counseling and Wellness, coming to you finally, excuse me, for your second installment of Surviving the Holidays in Recovery. So last week we talked about the biopsychosocial spiritual model of treatment. We talked about how important it is to address all of those aspects, to, with triggers, avoid what you can and make a plan for what you have to deal with, especially over the holidays. And we're going to break that down into different aspects. And today we're going to talk about the biological aspects of that model and give you some tips and tricks specifically related to that. So you guys will have to bear with me. I have a little bit of a cough, so if I start coughing at you, I apologize. But I wanted to make sure that I jumped on here, and of course, part of the biological is taking care of yourself. So I am taking care of me, but I wanted to share with you guys this week so that you had some support. And to that end, I brought one of my great friends and holistic nurse coaches to help talk about the biological aspects of the treatment model. And what a wonderful person to talk about that. So welcome, Brittany.
Hello.
I'm going to talk a little bit first, and then of course we'll give you little tips and tricks here, and she'll probably have ideas of her own as well. So, the most important thing with biological, right, is we're looking at food, sleep, exercise. We're looking at taking medications. Right, in the rooms, we talk about HALT, right? Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. So being able to address each of those aspects of recovery, especially during the holidays, is really important. Making sure that you're taking care of yourself. If a lot of people get on medications and treatment, and that's what helps a lot of times allow you to get to the level where you can do the work that you need to for recovery. And especially during these times when stress is higher, anything you can do to reduce that biologically, right? Because remember, we're changing our brain when we start using on a regular basis. Our brain starts to think that we need drugs and alcohol to survive. So we have to start working on, changing those connections in the brain, changing those neural pathways by behaving differently, by taking different healthy-ish chemicals, right, in our body. So if that means taking an antidepressant or increasing certain vitamins and different things like that, it's really important for you to do that and take care of all of those aspects. And especially, I know Brittany will probably be able to talk about this, but especially with alcohol, all drugs, but alcohol specifically, we have a tendency to crave sugar. So, and when you eat a lot of sugar to replace that alcohol, right, your body kind of does this little up and down with its mood, so that's going to affect how you feel physically, emotionally, and all of those things. And it's going to make you much more vulnerable, right? That's where that HALT comes in. So any way that you can make yourself a little less vulnerable is going to be a huge asset for your recovery. So to that end, Brittany, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about how they can take care of their health, sleeping, exercise, and foods and things like that might be helpful for someone who's in early recovery or even later in recovery. What can you do to protect yourself during this time?
Okay. Yeah, you opened it up really great with the whole HALT with hungry. Feed yourself, make sure you're getting adequate nutrition, because when we are hungry, when we're not being nourished, is a time, even more you may have those cravings. So making sure that you're eating regularly and not going all day without eating or forgetting to eat altogether. So it's important to continue to eat regularly, eat every 3 to 4 hours. And then, like you said, with the sugar cravings, there are so many foods that are natural sources of sugar that are going to actually have a lot more benefit than just drinking a bunch of pop and cookies and candy, which you can have some of those too, but also getting in the sweets like your fruits. Dates are awesome because they're super sweet. And if you look for, there's a lot of cookies and different bars made out of dates, but it's more natural. So you're going to get antioxidants, which, like Lori mentioned, we're rewiring the brain. And those healthy sugars also have a positive effect on the brain without being so detrimental to your health. And then with foods, you may or may not have heard this before, the gut is the second brain. And so eating gut healthy foods. So that might be, and you can chime in too, Lori, if I'm forgetting any of the foods, if any foods come to mind, sauerkrauts, yogurts, again, fruits and vegetables, your ancient grains. Those are going to be great for your gut health. Onions.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, onions, garlic, those things are great for the gut health. So neurotransmitters are created in the gut.
Serotonin, I think, is highest in the gut. It's either highest or it's the second highest, right? Which is a mood regulator. So absolutely, if you're just eating those high sugar foods and different things like that, you get that nice little spike of the dopamine and the serotonin. Feels really good in the moment, just like when you use drugs or alcohol, but it's not sustainable. And then you have a crash, just like you would when you stop using, right?
Yeah, and a lot of times we're probably not thinking about our mood being affected by the things that we eat, but it really is. Like I just mentioned with the gut health, and that there's a gut brain connection. And then also keeping the sugar regulated. So if you're skipping meals or you're eating something that's packed with sugar, then you're going to have that crash. So trying to avoid super sugary processed foods and eat more of those healthy, well-rounded foods, and eating more regularly will help with that. So that's, and then of course, staying hydrated, making sure you're drinking plenty of water. Just, it's a lot of extra stress that we go through during the holidays. So nutrition is one aspect to help take care of the body. And then exercise is great because it's also helps the brain so much. It's one of the biggest reasons I love exercise is the mood boosting effects of it. So not only are you doing something so great for your body, you know, it's so important we only have this one body to take care of it, is also doing so much for our brain as well.
And we certainly didn't take care of our bodies and our addictions. You know, there's not a whole lot of that, not a whole lot of thinking about that. And I love that you mentioned that because that's one of the biggest things that we can do to combat triggers is exercise, you know, stimulating those feel-good chemicals because they stop working naturally when you're using. So, you know, and I know a lot of people, it can feel really daunting to start. Some people, and especially in early recovery, you know, when they're in treatment, they jump right into an exercise program because they're feeling really good because they finally have the drugs out of their system, but then that can start to kind of wane. So, you know, and especially during this time when the stress is higher during the holidays and you know, routines are disrupted and especially with, you know, all the things that are happening in the world right now, how would you help someone have it not be so daunting? Like what kind of suggestions might you have? Especially some people are in colder weather and different things like that. And so it's harder to get out and things like that. So I love how you prescribe, if you will, simple things, you know, that don't have to be this giant like program or anything.
For people who are new to exercise, or maybe it's been a long time and you're having a hard time getting motivated, walking really is an excellent exercise, and most all of us can do that, generally speaking. And if you're in cold weather, which I know it's getting cold all over most of the country at this point, it's nice in Florida right now, there's indoor walking programs you can do. If you've never done one, I know people that do them. I've had clients do it and they love it. You just like get on YouTube. YouTube is a great resource to get on there and find a walking place if you don't have a treadmill. But also making it enjoyable, making it as enjoyable and as pleasurable as possible, because if we dread something, we don't like it, we feel like it's just one more thing on the to-do list, it's so easy to put it off. So how might you make it enjoyable? I say get your favorite music, whatever music has you feel good. And like, to go back to the halt, if you're feeling angry, maybe you have your like Rage Against the Machine music on and you just go crazy moving around, but you're going to notice in that movement how much you're able to shift your energy. Movement's really such an energy shifter. So making it enjoyable, maybe it's a podcast, maybe it's you have that connection. If you're feeling lonely, going back to halt, you video chat with one of your friends and you just march in place, or you do some squats in place, which would be sitting and standing motion, push-ups against the wall. Anything that gets you moving, get your heart rate up, get your breathing going, have yourself work up a sweat is going to have a positive effect on your body. Our bodies are meant to move. So any movement you do, especially in the beginning, I wouldn't overthink it. Just celebrate that you're able to move and that you're doing something. And
we can sure overthink it, can't we?
yeah, it's so easy to be like, I don't know what to do. Am I doing this right?
Mm-hmm.
Celebrate whatever you do. If you go for a 5-minute walk, if today you get up out of bed and you walk to the mailbox and you didn't do that yesterday, like feel good about that. Mm-hmm. And speaking from some personally, like I have suffered with low moods before, and exercise, I believe, is really the thing that has been so helpful for me in keeping my mood regulated. So, but in the beginning, it can be challenging. So just any movement you can do, even if it's 5 minutes, just getting started.
Well, and it's crazy because, you know, guys, I can speak to, you know, Brittany's programs and things like that. You know, something that I thought was so simple, I'm like, oh, it's not going to be that hard. You know, we just did some squats and push-ups either against the wall or on the floor and things like that. And my arms were so sore and my legs were so sore, and it was so simple. So even if you just get up and do 10 squats, you know, every once in a while when you're sitting around and even if you're not feeling super great or whatever the case may be, you know, do something. It's going to help. It's going to do, you know, what we call in dialectical behavior therapy, it's going to build mastery, right? If you do one little thing and then one little thing builds on another little thing, it builds mastery. So it helps you to get through that space, especially, you know, it can help if you are either around too much family during this time or not enough family. It can give you a little time away or a little time for reflection or breathing or a break. And the other piece of biological aspect is sleep. So, you know, sleep is so important. That's where we do a lot of our healing. And I'm sure that Brittany can speak to that as well.
Yeah, sleep is the time for our body to regenerate, to do the healing, like Lori said. And if I had to say one of the things that's disrupting sleep so much, you probably already know the answer, is the cell phone and the electronics. It's an addiction in its own right, but being on the phone before bed really just changes the way it stimulates the brain and can make it that much more harder to sleep. So having a sleep hygiene, if you would, having a routine that you do before bed, like it's like maybe you had this routine when you were a kid, your parents set you down, perhaps, or maybe not, but doing that with yourself, giving yourself, if you have a hard time sleeping, honestly, the experts say 2 hours before bed, start prepping for bed. So that's shutting off your electronics, avoiding eating anything or drinking any fluids, letting your body, this is a time to rest and digest, cutting down the lights, maybe you just have candlelight. If you are going to stay awake, do something like read a book, deep breathing, some light stretching, that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. This is a really great time to put in some of those breathing exercises that I've taught before. And progressive muscle relaxation is huge because in early recovery, sleep can be really elusive, you know, because your body's trying to regulate, your brain's trying to regulate. So it can be very disconcerting. And especially if you end up going out of town or something for the holiday or whatever the case may be, you know, anything you can do to create that routine and that sleep hygiene is really important. And I know it's hard for us to get off of our phones and things like that, but anything you can do to help with that. And also, you know, just as a tip, a yoga tip, you know, because that's what I do, is legs up the wall can be really helpful to slow down the brain and kind of shift the blood flow, right, from the bottom of the body right into the organs, into the heart and things like that. So if you have a really hard time sleeping, that and teas and different things like that.
Yeah, teas are great too. That's a good one. Any of the sleepy time teas are awesome.
Yeah. And sometimes you have to use all the tools in the arsenal. And that's the thing is, you know, it's really important to address all of those aspects, right? We have to make sure that we're taking any medications that have been prescribed. And if you have concerns about them, you know, certainly talk to your doctor about it. But this is not a time to stop taking medications. if you think you're feeling better, because then that's when things can happen, especially in a higher stress time. Making sure that you're eating healthy, balanced foods, right? Balance and fiber is really important. We didn't talk a lot about that, but having, that balance of sugar and fiber is going to help with digestion. And then making sure that you're exercising and making sure that you're sleeping. They seem so simple, but they're some of the most important pieces of early recovery, because that's a lot of what hasn't been regulated. The chaos of how do I not, feel like crap, right? How do I not have withdrawal symptoms? And that circle, that vicious circle, we have to interrupt that and do some healthier things for sure. So I think that was a lot of information in a really short period of time, but I'd love if you have any other specific tips or any of your favorite things that you want to highlight before we wrap up our conversation today. Facebook isn't telling me how long, so I have no idea how long we've been on here, but
not too long, 15 minutes, I think. I would say just if you could have a motto of how you want to treat yourself, I'm going to be kind to myself in my actions, or I'm going to be gentle with myself, or I'm going to nourish myself, because under that umbrella, if you can get that imprinted in your mind, then it's like, okay, what do I eat when I'm taking care of myself? Oh, okay. I want to eat these healthy, whole, rich foods in their natural form as much as possible. You can combine them, but food in their original form as much as possible, because that's how you're going to get as much nutrients. How am I going to move my body that's kind and works for me and going to help with my mood? If you can start thinking of those ways, like how can I support myself? How can I be in this new relationship with myself in a way where I'm actually taking care of me? So, I'm not used to going to sleep, let's say at night, or I don't even sleep, or I sleep for 20 hours. What's that new me look like? So I'm going to try to go to bed a little bit earlier, do those deep breathing exercises that Lori taught me before bed. And I just want to say, feel good about whatever you do. It's so easy to get caught up in judgment and think that we have to perfect it. There's no perfection in this game of life, but it's like Lori said with mastery, it's like building that foundation and one thing after another. And that really is how you stay clean and sober, as 1 minute at a time at times. And the same thing goes with living a healthy lifestyle and taking care of your body. It's just, we're always in choice. So just reflecting back on how can I take care of myself.
I love that. And I love what you said about motto. We use mantras a lot, when I share. And I really love, I think we created this together, or at least from a program that I did with you, is I nourish myself, mind, body, and spirit. That's my favorite one. So I think of that, and it helps me to be mindful of what I'm doing biologically, physically, and how I'm taking care of myself. So I really like that. And I hope you guys got some good tips on that. Of course, as always, please reach out to me. I will leave my information here in the comments of the video. If you need a little extra support, through therapy, yoga therapy, essential oils, which can be a huge help with cravings and different things like that. And then, of course, if you need a little extra help, from a nurse health coach, Brittany's information will be down in here too. So she can get you started if that's something that you really struggle with, and make some good suggestions for food specifically for you and things like that. So certainly we appreciate you guys watching. We hope you got something out of it. And I thank you so much, Brittany, for being a part of this. I love doing stuff with you. So
good to see you.
Good to see
Love you.
Love you too.
Everybody have a great day. Have a great weekend. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Bye.